Mick Finnegan, Paul Mulholland and Martin Hoy met then Fianna Fáil spokeswoman for children Anne Rabbitte in 2019 and briefed her on the sexual abuse they allegedly suffered as children in St John's Ambulance. Deputy Rabbitte privately raised concerns with the then Minister for Children, Catherine Sapona, who wrote to Bernard Gloucester, who was then CEO of Tusla. Gloucester, in a letter dated December the 5th, 2019 to Deputy Rabbitte, stated, "All available information suggests that there is no evidence of systemic or organisational abuse within St John's Ambulance." St John's Ambulance waited until the eve of the St Patrick's Bank Holiday weekend, when Roderick O'Gorman and the Cabinet was out of the country, to publish the damning 300-page report on the independent investigation conducted by Dr. Geoffrey Shannon, Senior Counsel, who was commissioned in 2020 by St John's Ambulance when Finnegan, Mulholland and Hoy went public with their stories in the Irish Times. Mick Finnegan is demanding that Tusla answer questions as to how the charity was given a clean bill of health, given the scale of abuse detailed by survivors and confirmed in Dr. Shannon's report, published last Thursday. In a statement to RTE's Primetime, Tusla said that at the time of the correspondence, Tusla had no information that there was any child currently at risk within St John's Ambulance Service. Mick Finnegan has called on Bernard Gloucester, who was recently appointed as head of the HSE, to provide a direct explanation as to how he came to conclude that child abuse was not widespread in the organisation. Mr Finnegan told yesterday's Mail on Sunday, "I will be following up with Tusla to find out details of the investigation they carried out that enabled them to give St John's Ambulance a clean bill of health. There are huge question marks over that. I think it's important to see their process into how they look into issues relating to child protection." Mr Finnegan went on to say, "As the Special Rapporteur for Child Protection pointed out, it is a case of the organisation being able to mark their own homework and say, everything's okay here. Or did they carry out something more in depth? We need to address all these issues because if we don't, we will see history repeating itself." Bernard Gloucester did not respond to requests from the Mail on Sunday for comment. And the Children's Minister, Roderick O'Gorman, who was in India as part of the Global St Patrick's Weekend mission, did not respond either to requests for comment from the Mail on Sunday. Last Thursday night's RTE Investigates, presented by Aoife Hegarty, is a shocking revelation into the failure by state bodies to properly investigate reports of child sex abuse.
When I hear now about these stories about other officers telling cadets you're never to be in the same room as him, as your own, the higher echelon knew all about it and didn't do anything about it.
Today's damning report finds that St John Ambulance failed to investigate or intervene when children were at risk, but it also reveals recent reports of grooming and child sexual abuse.
The government is well aware of the widespread sexual abuse of children ongoing in the country, and they are doing nothing about it. In 2019, the Alliance of Birth Mothers Campaigning for Justice submitted a 13,000-page report to every member of the Dáil, which documented in detail the state's failure to respond to child sex abuse endemic in Irish society. Then leader of the opposition, Micheál Martin, tabled a parliamentary question to the Minister for Children, Catherine Sapona. In her response, she said she did not contact Tusla about the report and noted some of his recommendations, saying, "Recommendations relating to An Garda Síochána and the family law courts are a matter for the Minister for Justice." There was over 1,800 reports of child sex abuse made to Tusla between January and May 2022, and this was an increase from 1,300 for the same period in 2021, representing a shocking 40% increase. A Garda inspector's report published in 2018 found that only 4% of child sex abuse cases result in a court conviction. The report also revealed 66% of all reported sex crimes in Ireland involve a child victim. Kitty Holland, who is the social affairs correspondent with the Irish Times, appears to be the only journalist in Ireland attempting to report on what is happening to some mothers when they report that their child is being sexually abused by its father and end up losing custody to the perpetrator. I concluded the foreword to the 2019 report, The Triad Rules, Tusla, the Family Law Courts and the Gardaí, by saying, people in the past are excused somewhat because they claim it was generally not known at that time what was happening. The present generation reading this report cannot claim ignorance. I hope and pray that we don't have to wait decades for a series of exposes in mainstream media to finally get justice for these birth mothers and their children who are suffering at the hands of this triad.